What's up, world? My name is Joe K. In studio with us right now, we got my man, one of my good friends actually, and it's actually been a while since we've had someone from the crew, all the way from Amsterdam, Jarreau Vandal. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing fine, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Now you're fresh off the plane, just got back from, or you just came. Was it Dubai?
Yeah, I was in Dubai, then I went to Geneva, went to Amsterdam for 2 days. Now I'm here, all jet lagged, but ready for the show, man.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Now, you know, because we've had so many heavy hitters, it's been a while since we've had someone like yourself. And I want to say, like, because we have so many, you know, bigger people, I feel this is a real platform now in Soulection. And you being part of the actual roster and the crew, you got to really be able to make noise and have a story, you know, and I'm happy that you're finally here because you've been making noise. And I feel right now you're the king of the edits right now, you know, and you really understand the DJ culture. And I feel that you're also just you just have a good balance on the production side and as a DJ. So I'm really just hyped to hear your perspective and just how close you really have your ear, you know, around the world. I know Baile Funk and grime is a big inspiration to your sound right now.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, man, what's going on in Jarreau's world in terms of the production side and you as an artist?
Well, I feel I still need to learn a lot, you know. I'm actually still working on my first EP. It's about to drop like late March. And before that, I just did a lot of productions and remixes. You know, that's a good thing to get into producing, just having a vocal and build a track around it. You can learn a lot from that. And yeah, the edits just started with me DJing my own music, and I felt like my own music was too mellow for the club. I remember I was in Paris with I Am Nobody and Mr. Carmack, and I played a set, and they told me like, yo, why don't you play your own music? And I was like, no, it's too mellowed. And that's how I ended up doing edits. And yeah, it turned out pretty well.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, me speaking as a DJ myself, because you have your ears, you know what's relevant, but also what's right, and your track selection is just so on point. I've noticed that, and one thing I've always admired from you is the way you organize your music before you play live. I've literally watched you. So you use CDJs, and I've watched you. You'll have your laptop out, and you'll organize everything by BPM, and I feel like by keys. It seems like it just seems everything's just very well thought out. So when you play it, everything just is mixed well, and it just the energy, you know, and it's just it's like a split personality of you. And I think when I really realized it was in Amsterdam, out at the Appelsap Festival, and it was when Soulection curated our first stage. And when I saw the people, obviously that's your hometown, but just to see how you moved the crowd, and then moving over to when was it, the end of the summer, and or October, should I say, seeing you out in London,
Coco,
and to see you move, you know, 1,700 to 2,000 people, I felt that was incredible, man. I've never seen a crowd so explosive for such a long period of time, because London is a tough crowd to move. You got to really know your music. So, yeah, man, I really admire those skills, and I recognize it. So, yeah, just really tight to have you here. The EP, how many tracks can we expect on the project?
Seven tracks. 2 already released, one with Nia Wells, and one with Jelani Blackman and B&B Space Kid. And yeah, there's one track coming out with Jay Prince, and one with Casey from Last Night in Paris.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna play one track in my set today.
Okay.
Yeah.
And some we're gonna. By the way, for those listening, we are gonna get an exclusive 45-minute set from you.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm really hyped to hear that. But when we first met, it was through. So once again, everybody on Soulection is an A&R. Everyone's constantly digging, right? And this is a great story. I Am Nobody, all the way from Berlin, another artist on Soulection, hit me up one day. It was about 2 years ago, and he's like, yo, I met this guy named Jarreau. He's young, he's hungry, and he passed me a flash drive, and I happened to listen to it, and I really think this kid, you know, deserves a chance. You know, I think he deserves a light. So at the time, we had just started the Soulection White Label series. We transferred me about 7 tracks. I knew that your rhythm and the way you kind of mixed just like the up-tempo grooves with just that bounce, that was right up our alley. And that music's pretty timeless. And a lot of people hit me up for that record, and they were just like, yo, who is this guy? So it was from that point on, man, that I realized. And I also want to say, coming from my end, not just as a radio host, but from someone that works with you, on the label side, I've watched a lot of artists come in and go, and I've seen them, they take the momentum that Soulection or other platforms have given them, and sometimes they don't know what to do with it, or they get caught up in the hype, or they get caught up on the internet. They get caught up in different things that kind of put a stigma on their growth. They get in creative blocks, and they just get caught up in everything but what got them there in the first place. And that's something that you've never had to deal with, which I think is a gift in itself. Yeah,
man. Like the growth I've been through the past 2 years, 3 years, it's really amazing. Well, I had a creative block for a while, and that's something that can happen to everybody, right? But at some point, you just gotta go and you gotta be creative in order to do new stuff. You gotta be really creative and try to be forward thinking.
Yeah. And you're from Southeast Amsterdam, from a town called they call it Ghana.
Ghana, yeah.
Right?
It's like the suburbs. You say Ghana, and that's like a slang name, but the real name is Gein.
Okay, I will say, going to Amsterdam quite a few, like at least 2 or 3 times in my life recently. It's such a balanced culture, and it's a place where I would even consider raising my family. How has the culture, your family, how has that influenced your sound?
Well, the Amsterdam music culture, club culture is pretty strong. Being a DJ in Amsterdam is hard because there's so much competition. You got to be on point, and I think that's one of the things that kept me sharp with DJing. And yeah, my family is pretty musical. My parents were both dancers in the club in the 90s. That's how they met. And my dad used to play a lot of jazz for me because he used to dance jazz bop.
Oh, wow.
And he had a friend that was a DJ, and he used to play a lot of jazz fusion, soul music. And then my parents became Christian, and they went to church, and there was a lot of gospel, and that really influenced me too.
Yeah, and then I also know, so earlier we were discussing about the influences. What is it about Baile Funk and grime that really captures you?
Baile Funk, like my dad used to play a lot of Brazilian music, and Baile Funk is Brazilian, so I already had that connection with Brazilian music. And I feel like Baile Funk is the hip hop, the grime of Brazil.
That's real.
It's pretty, like when you translate the lyrics, it's like a lot of dirty stuff,
When I just got back from Brazil, I was tripping out because they have kids from 7 years old to 13.
Yeah.
And for those who don't speak Portuguese, they would never know. But you can kind of tell they're saying some very grimy, very explicit things.
Yeah.
And I had spoke to some locals, from all the different states out in the places we visited, from Sao Paulo to go to Chiba and Brasilia and Rio. And a few, specifically women, had problems with the fact that the kids were saying these things, because they're too young. It's like my daughter saying something that it's a problem. But what I found out is that a lot of them, either they don't have parents or much family, or if they do, they're in such poverty that they had to take the money because the labels or whoever the artists would pay them out, and that was the reasoning on why it was cool, even though they knew it was a problem. Like, hey, my kid's too young to be saying that. But it's crazy, but it still moves the whole country. Like everybody listens to Baile Funk.
Baile Funk, yeah. I feel like it's a way out, out of the struggle and the favelas, and I made a comparison with hip hop and grime, and I think that was the same thing when hip hop started out, and grime. It's about struggle and about hustling. With grime you got the roadman, roadman, that type of stuff. It's the same thing.
Let's actually get into let's keep it moving along here on Beats One. Here on Soulection Radio with Jarreau Vandal once again. Let's get into one of my favorite songs by you. Again, this shows the diversity in your production, not just on the edit side, but just like you as an original artist. Let's get into it. BYOB.
Jarreau Vandal.
Wow. That track right there, man. Tell me what was going on. I'm going to tell you this. Usually if I just kind of preview and snippet through tracks, it's like 30 seconds. But because that song has so much going on, I had to let that one ride out for those who don't know. Once again, that was entitled BYOB. And it had a house vibe. It had like a Caribbean or like a island vibe. And then it has that bounce.
Yeah.
How do you do that, man?
Well, once again, it's all the musical influences you hear back in the track. At that moment, I just had the chords. I chopped them up, and I was just making like a more up-tempo track. That was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then I ended up doing a halftime bid. And at the end, you didn't play that, but my mom was doing the laundry next to my room, and I needed like a female vocal. And I had a melody, and I made her sing the melody, and I sang the melody too.
Wow.
And it was some sort of Brazilian part. So for the people that didn't hear it, just check the track out.
So how does that feel to have your mother a part of a musical piece that you create? That's amazing.
That's
man.
really cool. Yeah, I knew she could sing because she was singing in church, and like sometimes in the kitchen when she's cooking or whatever, she's singing too. And
that must feel special to have your mother enjoy your music. Most moms don't understand the sound in general, whatever it is. Like, there's a lot of rappers, their moms, they don't really get it or whatever, or even, producers, but she's a part of them, and that must feel crazy.
Yeah, it's dope that she's a part of my track. The track is also called BYOB, featuring my mother, People have been asking me like, yo,
what's her name, by the way?
Belinda.
Belinda?
Yeah,
Shout out Belinda if you are listening all the way back home. Is she based out in Amsterdam as well?
Amsterdam, yes.
That's lovely, man. That's crazy. But yeah, I think what you did there is a prime example of where the sound of tomorrow is going. And just fusing all these different genres. It's what Soulection is about, and what you're about, just taking different elements that we're inspired by, and just to hear how you did it. There's something for everyone. There's someone for the house head. There's something that wants to like vibe and turn up, and there's someone that just wants to feel good and just like two-step. It's everything within 3 minutes. That's incredible. Someone that's also coming from the SoundCloud world, and you being an artist and producer, the game's a bit oversaturated right now. Everybody is creating and putting out amazing music, but what's your recommendation on how someone, kind of stands out in this field?
Be creative. Like I said before, trying to stand out with the way you put out your music. Don't lean on SoundCloud. You don't know how long that's gonna last. Trying to find different websites, or just try to go back to like physical things like CDs or whatever. But
vinyl.
Vinyl, exactly. There could be so many things you could do, and just make a project around your actual musical project, and that I think that could be something new. Yeah.
Well, just to even elaborate a little bit more on that, I have to agree with you not to just depend, because hey, what if your SoundCloud got shut down today? What would you do as an artist if that's where all your following is? You still got to keep pushing, right?
Yeah.
So it's a tough game, but yeah, I think it's smart. That's why you got to also build yourself on a personality as a brand, and through other social media outlets, and just show people who you really are, to have a backup plan.
I'm trying to create like a mailing list.
Yeah.
Everybody's still using email.
Yep. It's crucial.
That's a smart thing. Yeah. Cool. And like, if you got good ideas, don't share them with everybody. I mean, sharing is caring, but some people steal your ideas and then they're not new anymore.
That's real.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I think it's just like the internet or like Snapchat. There's certain things that you should share that you want people to know, but there's things you got to keep within for yourself and for your crew, your family, and just keep that knowledge to yourself. That's how you stay ahead of the game.
So you can do it right. Exactly.
Yeah. And before we get into this music, we got the Soulection 5-year anniversary coming up.
Oh yes.
And it's all surprise guests, all unannounced here in Los Angeles. It did so well that we had to add an extra date to it, and I just want to let the people know, for those listening, if you are in town, it's a surprise lineup, but I will give away one person. He's right in front of me. Jarreau Vandal will be playing. All right, so stay tuned for that, but we're not going to tell you which day, so that's the surprise. All right, but you ready to step up on these decks and show people like the real sound?
Yeah, man, for sure.
All right, man. I want to anytime, brother. Let me give you some daps. Your family, your brother. You're like a brother to me, and let's show them that European sound. All right?
Cool, man. Once again, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Jarreau Vandal. And Tell the people what the name of the EP is as well before we close up.
It's called Suburb Superhero.
And they could expect that late March, right?
Yes.
Late March.
Yes.
You heard it first here on Soulection Radio. All right, let's keep it moving.